Hello everyone, this is Shauna Benson from OCALI's Teaching Diverse Learners Center, and I'm here again with some more how-to videos, quick tips and tricks that you can use in your classroom to provide access to your curriculum. All right, in today's episode, you can kind of see it showcased here. We're going to talk about switch accessible spinners, particularly this alternate spinner, and how you can actually use them in your classroom. I think sometimes when a device like the spinner comes with a faceplate, which in this case, the device came with a faceplate that shows a dice array, and sometimes it's like, we use it for that, but then what else? What's next? What else can we use it for? So let's talk through some other ideas, and I'm also going to show you exactly how to use the device as well. So in this case, the spinner typically will come with the device itself. So this device minus the switch. So I did have the switch plugged into it. So the device is here. The back of the device has a battery area that you would have to take off the faceplate with a tiny screwdriver and put in a couple of, I think it's C batteries in this one, in this device. And then, of course, the face of the device has some different removable plates, and then, of course, the spinner button. So you can use it without the switch adaptation. We're going to primarily focus on switch adapted, but if you wanted to use it just as a push button spinner, you can do that as well. All right, so let's take it apart before we start talking about like how to use it. Let's take all the parts and pieces of the device apart a little bit. So the faceplate itself is kind of a cardboard cover, and you can see that there are little prongs that stick down into the side. So all you have to do to remove it is kind of at least pull out one of those prongs. And of course you can use the spinner to manipulate as a manipulative to roll the dice. So if I were a student in a classroom, we're playing a game and we wanted to have dice roll, and we didn't particularly have dice in our room, or the dice may be a swallowing hazard and we don't have any large dice in our room, we could use the spinner for that purpose, and then the dice, of course, will be a functional, purposeful part of our gameplay. We could also just talk about numbers and quantity using the device. So in mathematics, of course, you could use it for that purpose. But let's say we don't want to use the device with dice. We can actually take the faceplate off, and it can actually become a template, if you will, to create other plates that you can also affix to the spinner. The way I've adapted mine, I actually just use it and put Velcro on here, and this is kind of laminated. So I can also use a China marker or a wax marker, wax pencil to divide the sections for the spinner as well. But I've affixed the Velcro on here so that the use of the tool is flexible for me. I can put lots of different things on here. The other part that I'm going to show you, there's a secondary plate that has this middle spinner, and of course you can use the tiny spinner as the spinning device or the larger one. I think having both is a little bit confusing. And the way that you actually access this to take this out, there's a little clear plexiglass plate on here. And if I turn it so that the little tabs match up to the plexiglass cutouts, I can lift that plate out, set it down, and actually the spinner itself comes off. I know it's scary, like pulling off the spinner. And then the plate comes out. And again, you can trace this. It can be used as a template. You can cut out the square for the center, and you can create your own plates for the device as well. I think for right now, I'm just going to put it back on, but I'm actually just going to use the white side of it because we're going to focus on using the larger spinner area. So I put the white back in, put my spinner back on, and I want to also attach my clear plexiglass in here as well and turn it so that it's locked in. So now my glass plate is secure. All right, I'm also going to put my tabbed overlay back in again, and there are some tabs here that you just have to kind of weasel into the little holes there. And so now I have a clean slate. So I can really use this spinning tool for anything I want. The first thing that I want to do though is I want to show how you switch adapt it. So I have a variety of switches here. Most of them are corded, so they would come with a port or a plug, and you put that right into the switch port on the side. And so now hypothetically, if it's going to work well for us, we should have switch adapted spinning. All right, so I can use, again, this is student specific. So the tool you choose to access this actual switch, you would be mindful of the student's needs. Does the switch need to be low profile, high profile? Does it need to be a certain color or texture? All that is student specific. Does it need to have very light touch, or does it have to have a larger compression? All of those things can be important. And can it be corded, or does it need to be cordless? So I'm not going to go into all of these switch details. There's a lot here. Maybe in another episode we'll do that. But just be mindful of whatever you're attaching to it to make sure that it's student specific. So let's talk about how we can change up the display to actually fit into some math classes or literacy classes, or how can I use it in my classroom to explore science through shared reading, something of that nature. Okay. So let's talk first. We already saw the dice, and really that's just a switch adapted manipulative. So I have some other manipulatives here from a math class, maybe with patterns. You could be using the geometric shapes. You could be using and classifying these by color. So lots of different uses for the shapes. I have just affixed Velcro on the back, and then I'm just going to put these on here, clear around the surface. And you can have as many or as few as you like. And again, you would probably want to divide these somehow, divide them up a little bit with some lines between each of these so you know where your spinner is landing as well. Or I could use money. You know, I could put coins or images of coins or bills or actual coins and bills on the faceplate if we're using manipulatives, and students can call out what comes up next. So for example, I'm going to just spin it once, and I would say a red circle. So if the students are deciding on what these shapes are, the student can hit the switch, and then they wait for their partners or peers, and the partner or peer says that's a red circle. Or if you're using this for gameplay or manipulative, you're actually telling your partner which geometric shape that they're selecting for a specific purpose or activity that you're going through. If I were putting money on here, and let's say in another activity, we're going to be sorting some coins into different categories. So we're going to sort the pennies. Let's put this on our switch spinner to see which kinds of coins we sort first, and which kinds of coins we sort next, and which kinds of coins we sort last. So the switch spinner can actually be in replacement for some of those manipulatives, and to encourage participation of students in the classroom with peers, peer activities, or classroom activities in general. So let's talk a little bit about literacy. What if we have a story of the day? And we have different books that are the choice for the stories of the day. We could, of course, affix the covers, pictures of the cover onto the switch spinner. Let's say we also maybe are sharing stories about specific genres or habitats. We could affix those to the spinner. And that will tell us what type of book, like are we going to read a book today about the rainforest or the tundra or the Arctic or whatever the case may be. By the way, in the OCALI Lending Library, we do have text sets of all of the ecosystems and habitats. So this truly, if you take out a couple of different text sets, you could have the students pick which habitat they would like to hear a story from that particular day. So this could potentially be an activity that you would use in your classroom. So whenever you're sharing a story, allow students to have some voice, or in this case, choice, in picking which stories they would like to read. All right, so let's stay with the literacy category for a second. Let's talk about different word types. So what if I put up here, and I have some manipulatives on my table. Let's say I have some picture cards, all these different picture cards, and we're word building, but we're not showing the actual word, we're just showing an image, and we're going to ask students to come up to the table and pick the two words that make up a compound word. So we could fill this with compound words. I just have a few here as a sample. Don't yell out the word. All right. So if we use our switch spinner and we could divide the, divide the surface into quadrants, so there would be 4 quadrants here, and we spin the switch. Our first word looks like it's in this quadrant here in the top corner, and we need somebody to come up from our group of students and pick out the 2 words that make up this word. And so the students who have, are participating through switch access would be actually kind of leading the activity in some cases. And you would have a student come up and they say this word. What is this? It's a rainbow. So I'm going to pick out my 2 words then that make up this word. We're going to take it off of our spinner. And then we have our compound word set. And then we could spin again and see if we can get into one of the other quadrants for another student to come and build a word as well. All right. These are just a few simple ideas or activities. I actually do have a printable sheet. If you're interested in having access to that, it'll be on the Literacy Access for All website, printed sheet that talks about all the different ideas for how to use the switch spinner. And I'm sure there are tons that are not on there. At the end of every list, I always say, etc., because there are so many ideas. I'm sure you guys could email and contribute to the ideas that we have here too. All right, so let's say we are going into some additional literacy activities with word onsets, word syllables, word onset and rhyme, phonemes within words. So we could use images like these that don't have any words attached to them. Or we can, in some cases, some students may need a little bit of additional scaffolding as well. So we could have a lot of different choices on here. And we could ask students each time they select a word to tell us or pick from a letter array. Again, we're adding in a different manipulatives here. So we may have a bunch of letters at our table and we may ask students, and we can narrow it down depending on the student. We may have a 2-choice array for some students. We may add additional letters for others. We could have the whole alphabet with a rainbow like alphabet arc, or the whole alphabet available to them on a keyboard or something, and they could then pick according to whatever we're asking them. So let's say at first I may be spinning my switch and it lands on, let's say, the balloons. And I may ask the student, what's the first sound that you hear in the word balloon? Balloon? Yeah, balloon. What's the first sound that you hear in the word balloon? And we could have a choice array. Remember, for some students, the letters may have to be lifted up off the table a little bit, or even presented to them at a different angle for them to actually select, do a direct select. I could ask a student to help me segment a word. Let's say the switch happened to land on newspaper. We could talk about compound. We could also talk about syllables within a word. So we could have the student divide the word into syllables as well. And then, again, the phonemes. So all the sounds that they hear within the word. So if it lands on hat, I would ask the student, can you say the sounds in the word hat? At, hat. And that would help them, again, practice those sounds that we may be learning in different lessons. All right, so these are a few ideas, again, among many. I'm sure there are lots of others that we could talk about. Hopefully this has helped a little bit, add some tools into your toolkit, and certainly adding some access into your classroom for the students that you have who are coming and participating. Thanks everybody for joining me today, and we'll see you again next time.